Barbados, sweet paradise. But the politricksters, full of lies. They want mash up the culture, tear it to the ground. But the people we stand strong, we hold the rock down. Wake up my people, shake up, wake up my people, shake up, wake up my people, shake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up my people, shake up, wake up my people, shake up, wake up my people, shake up. It's time to rise, time to see clear, time to open we eyes. Tell a friend to tell a friend if you don't mind. Real news for the people in real time. Enough love, enough respect. Welcome to politically incorrect. Politically incorrect. Politically incorrect. Enough love, enough respect. Welcome to politically incorrect. Politically incorrect. Politically incorrect. Wake up my people, shake up, wake up my people, shake up, wake up my people, shake up. Hey! Wake up, wake up my people, shake up, wake up my people, shake up, wake up my people, shake up. Wake up.
Yes, family. Greetings in the name of His and Her Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I, Empress Wazir Menin. Y'all already know, man. One perfect balance. Welcome to Politically Incorrect, where we get it correct, and if we're not correct, feel free to correct us. Can you believe it is already the end of January 2026? It was just the other day, we were all watching fireworks. And here we are now. Well, they're still kind of watching fireworks because fireworks is the illusion, bright lights, bright lights flashing. And all that does is keep you distracted from the reality of what's really going on. And in Barbados right now, quote unquote, is silly season. I don't know why they keep calling it silly season. It's like they think that people behave silly around election time. I think they need to rename it, quite frankly. I don't know if it's silly season or, man, the circus is in tongue. I don't know if it's silly season or circus is in tongue. If it is that the circus is in tongue, then yeah, it's a different something altogether. And so I see the call. I'll send you the link. That's not a problem. We're gonna go from there in a minute. But let me get this up and running. Anyhow, so we have a guest tonight, none other than Brother Philip Catlin Springer. He's joining us, Barbados Sovereignty. And everybody been told sovereignty, but Barbados Sovereignty Party, right, is a whole different conversation. And not too many people that actually made noise or had the platform to create the voice for those voiceless voters back in 2022. And although that is still an issue that's still pending, the fact that the court, this judicial system, and the Chief Justice, who has declared he wants to fix all the delays and whatnot, look, man, he can't do nothing. So he could only, promise to do something, but the reality is the way it is for a reason. But anyhow, we're going to discuss some stuff tonight from a lawful standpoint and take a look at it, and y'all could be the judge of that. Thanks for the calls, by the way, about the buses. I got several calls from people about the buses. We're going to discuss that too. But we're going to get into it. So before we jump into anything, let me go ahead and add this right here. Right, there you go. First, let me say, yes, it's Friday. Can you believe it? So for those who observe today as a sacred day, We say Shabbat Shalom for those observing today as a Sabbath. Assalamu alaikum for the Islamic community, peace, Islam. Otep, Ashe for the conscious community. Y'all already know Namaste to the brothers out there in the East. Sat City Akal. I also want to say Kedamawi to the Rastafarian brethren and sister in free Ayan, by the way. Gotta definitely declare that. That is just crazy. Imagine you eligible for bail, and because the magistrate ain't come to court for whatever reason, they adjourn your day to another whole month, and you gotta wait a month because somebody didn't show up for work for whatever reason. This is crazy. To fix this is so basic. But anyhow, the games that politics and politicians play with the lives of the people. Nevertheless, family, we want to say to everybody else tuning in, pure love and pure light. That's what it's about. The platform politically incorrect is for the voiceless. It is not a political runway for political powers. This is simply a space that we can have conversations, look at some plausible solutions and ways we can implement them, with or without the help of those who claim that they want to help. Anyhow, we got some videos to play tonight. And yes, you got to stick around for the last one again. But this one's a bit, controversial. Yeah. A lot of videos are out now in circulation. People making, funny memes and stuff. I don't know. I think right now, one of the things we got to really focus on is recognizing that the world is changing. And it's changing fast. We can sit back and pretend we don't recognize these changes. Some folks might be a bit more aware. Some folks might not even care. But from digital IDs and cryptocurrency, and these are things we need to really start considering when we think about where we're going as a nation, especially as these new terms, small island states. Keep hearing these things, these terms. Well, what does that mean for us? In fact, I heard the news recently in St. Lucia that there's some oil from Venezuela made its way to St. Lucia, and apparently, quote unquote, a private company bought the oil. So the prime minister was like, yo, look, man, I'm only getting my tax for the, entry fee to the port or whatever, or the waters or whatever, but none of that oil, that money don't come to us. That's private. So imagine that, Venezuelan oil already being shipped and delivered and paid for already. And one of the first countries to purchase it, why, St. Lucia. Well, not St. Lucia, according to the prime minister. It's a private company. Well, you can't make this stuff up here. Anyhow, while Grenada makes, they make their platform to welcome deportees from God knows where, talk about changing the demographics of countries. So when you bring all these male and female into the countries from nowhere, for whatever reason, and don't get me wrong, we're not opposed to welcoming people, but it's like, well, now what? Like, how does this work? The Grenada is supposed to house them. See, this is the part of the conversation I'm not hearing. I can't wait to hear it, because I remember when I was deported, and nobody offered no housing, and nobody offered no assistance. In fact, the only thing I was told is that we want to take your picture and post it in the police, whatever. I'm like, we'll talk about welcome home, right? But anyhow, I want to see what's going to happen. I can't wait to see how this all unfolds, man, because I suspect that perhaps the system that exists make provision for individuals who are being, quote unquote, relocated or retrenched. But that assistance don't really reach the people. We're going to find out now, though. But anyhow, tonight's program is focused on part 2 of what was going on in the court system. Why is no one talking about this being the case that was filed back in 2022? We got some videos to share, like I said, and we have a special guest. We're going to bring him in a minute. But I want to start by setting the tone first by playing this particular video. And I'm going to definitely start with this one. Not playing the whole video, but I'll give you the link. Hold on, if you're interested in actually listening to it. So we're going to start with that. But before we get into that, do a little housekeeping real quick, because I see that a few folks were on here from early. Definitely got to shout out Maria. Greetings to you too, family. You already know. Shout out to Fade and the whole Barbados National Congress. Appreciate the works y'all been doing throughout the well, locally and regionally. Great works and soon to be international. It goes to prove that you don't really need to be hoodwinked and bamboozled by old pirates. Shout out to Empress too, by the way. While we at it, shout out, love and light to you and the whole family. Good night to everyone. Rasta man, Sir Alfred, we dubbed that King Alfred, man. King Alfred. Give thanks to you and the family. What's the temperature like where you at today, man? I know there was a snowstorm going across the Americas from north to south. Man, I don't even envy y'all at all. Good night to you too, Maureen. Greetings to you too and the family. Be sure to go tell a friend and tell a friend. We up and running. Greetings to you too, Richard. Shout out to you and the family. Everyone. Greetings, greetings. Shalom, shalom, Shabbat, shalom, family. We will get our share, I am sure. Well, there's been seemingly some shift in the temperatures. Things are a bit more chillier than normal, or the temperatures are reading differently. But I mean, we here for a hot minute, family. Like really, the average person now is still less than 100 years old. Trust me. Things have been changing for eons. And we have some data, we don't have all the data, and it will continue to change long after. So the key is to adapt to the change, man, and not get caught up in it, but just to adapt to it. Having said that, let's go jump into this video tonight and get this thing going. And this is a video that made its way around at the time, but let's see what happens at this point now that we decide to reintroduce it. Y'all remember this guy? Do y'all remember this guy? Okay, so I want to play this clip just for starters to set the foundation. Then we're going to segue into things. This is a clip from 2020. Well, I guess it might have been 2021 at the time. But let's have a listen to the elder, the good bishop, Mr. Atterley.
Let me begin by saying that I consider the call for general elections in Barbados, uttered by the Prime Minister yesterday officially, to be quite callous and reckless. The idea of calling a general election in Barbados in the middle of a pandemic, which has been worsening for us in terms of its impact, and if you make reference to the numbers of both those persons infected and those persons who have passed on, it can't be anything less than reckless and callous to call a general election a year and a half before constitutionally it is due.
Now, the words he used, in fact, hold on, give me a sound check, family. Can y'all hear? Give me a sound check. Might check real quick. Did y'all hear what the good bishop was saying? Reckless, callous. I mean, these are strong words.
Now,
No, the reason why he's saying this is because obviously, at the time, there are people who would have been disenfranchised, which is the buzzword we're using tonight, as a result of what was going on. Basically, meaning deprived of. They were deprived of the rights and the opportunity to do a number of things, specifically vote. Now, when you're calling an election, in fact, there's rules outlined in the Constitution that governs an election in terms of when it, when the maximum time and when you have to call it and so on. To call it anytime before that, I suppose, is possible, but I suppose with just cause. I don't think that after winning an election, your first year in office, you could then turn around and call an election. I think that would be considered very strange and suspicious behavior and may cause folks to wonder. The problem is, what would be considered adequate time to call the election? Or why would you want to call an election? Not just an election, but a snap election. Well, let Mr. Athlete tell you the rest of the story. Let me let him finish his train of thought.
before constitutionally it is due. Now, when we had the by election in St. George North, at a time when the impact of the COVID presence among us was not that severe, I expressed the view then that it was not in the interest of the well-being of the people of Barbados, to call a by-election in St. George North, and then for the party in government to be seen visibly, actively, encouraging people to come out in crowds to attend political meetings and various other fora. If I thought that was wrong then, obviously I think that this is wrong now. It was not necessary to have a by-election then. It was a matter of political convenience for the party, the government. It is not necessary to have a general election now, 1 year and a half before its constitutionally due date, in the middle of a pandemic, when we're facing down the prospects of having the latest of the variants being present among us. And the government really should tell us if that variant is already here and not make glib statements around it. I heard the Prime Minister say it is coming. Well, I don't want to hear tomorrow that it is here, when in fact we knew that it was here, even when we said it was coming. So I think we need to have clarity on that. But the whole notion of calling a general election a year and a half before it is constitutionally due could only, in my view, be motivated by crass political considerations designed to serve advantage to the Barbados Labour Party at this time. Prime Minister repeatedly said in a press briefing yesterday.
Crafts to serve advantage to the party at this time. Thoughts on that, family? Imagine the Prime Minister calling an election, a snap election, deliberately in the middle of a pandemic, a year and a half before it is scheduled to be called, by the way, when it could have easily waited to see if the variants would have, or the vaccines, yeah, I said it, or see if the vaccines efficacy would have worked efficiently to reduce the spread of the different, whatever they call it, and maybe not subject people to potentially being infected to this deadly virus. But no, not Barbados. Nah, we want the crowds. Want y'all to rub shoulders. We want y'all to be, involved in some capacity. Imagine a political meeting that everybody's social distancing, like 6 feet apart. Like, really? That'll look, I don't know. Anyhow, so the point I want to make is that the elections was called. All right. But then there were folks who were not allowed to be there. I mean, let me just go ahead and put the link up, because Mr. Adley has a lot of profound things that was said then. And like the Chris Sinclair tapes that we had played, boy, that was profound. Almost like prophecy in the making. But anyhow, for those who are interested in hearing the remaining of Mr. Adley's remarks, the links have been posted on Facebook and the YouTube channel. They're both there in the comments, so feel free to go ahead and save them or click on them later on. Not now, but later on. Yeah. But hold on, I wanna also present this one here. Let me get this article. I came across this article while doing this research. And this was, I believe, the Nation newspaper at the time that spoke about the amount rather, I should say, of individuals, which I didn't even know it was so much. I mean, I've heard people saying stuff, but nah, man, this is serious stuff, man. Now let me see how you can close this stuff off. Okay, here you go. This was the 19th of January, this particular article. Let me go ahead and share this one instead. This was the 19th of January. Hang on. Pull this one up for you. So this article is Judge throws out last minute challenge to Barbados election. And like I said, this article was written back in January of that same year, 2022, surrounding the same snap election. And so the aim here is to kind of take a look at it, relook at it in order to come forward to see where we are today in 2026, facing another snap election, which, like Athlete said, serves only one purpose, and that is to put advantage towards the existing ruling clan. This was written back in January 2022, and Barbados as a nation, this is the Barbados nation. It will be a general election like never before today, as Barbadians determine a path of governance for the next 5 years, Today's events will be facilitated in the midst of a COVID pandemic that continues to see an increasing number of infections, which has led to about, and this is the thing, and this is being published, which has led to about 5,700 people isolated at home and in facilities up to Monday, and prohibited from casting their ballots. Last night, the court threw out the last-minute challenge to stop the poll brought by candidate Philip Nathaniel Springer of the Barbados Sovereignty Party. Now, like I said, I remember at the time sitting in that court that night. Well, we were there for a while, actually. And I always make fun about it because I think we eventually got kicked out. If I'm not mistaken, they kicked us out the court. They kicked out the brother and I. And interestingly enough, at that time, no one could have seen where this was going. But to go into court and see so many lawyers or people in black or men in black on the other side, and they got two individuals, which were the Halu. Shout out to Halu, by the way. And Mr. Springer, we're going to bring him in a few minutes to tell his side of what had happened and bring us up to speed as to what's happening now in relation to this election. It was interesting because I would never have thought that we would reach a stage where we start to look at the motives behind things being done in Barbados. We expect things to be done and things are normally done. But what if there are actually some other motives behind it? Like so serious. And at this point, we have grown to realize that, yep, like Mr. Adley said, why would you, a year and a half before, why would he do that? Like, what was the probable cause then? What was the reason then? And of course, I think I had that link here too. There was an alleged coup in the BLP to out Smith Montley. You know, power, you know how power is, man. You know how power is, man. Everybody wanna, so apparently the other band of thieves amongst the others decided they want to get rid of the head honcho. So they must have had a secret meeting. And I'm almost certain, I could almost guess, and I could be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if at the time Mr. Thorne was a part of the coup. Because when the coup failed and they won back the seat, he looked around left and right, faded into the background, and 2-2s, he jumped ship. Which was kind of strange, seeing how nobody else did. Yet, I'm going to leave that lingering. Nevertheless, so there was speculation as to why, there was this phone call to the president then, Miss Barrow, what's her name? Yeah, Mason, sorry, yeah, I know. So there was some speculation around it then. So that was a cause of calling the election so early to make sure that there's none of that going on. Now, I'm sure some money was passed around since then because you know how it go, a few things, because everybody seemed to be quiet. But yet now, all of a sudden, a year before the schedule, there's an election again. So what is the reason now? Let's go ahead and start. I want you to type your thoughts in the comments, what you think could possibly be the reason that the Prime Minister is calling the election now. Why not March? Why not April the 1st? In fact, that'd have been funny, right? In fact, that might have been more fitting, Miss Montley. I mean, I'm not known for my comedy, but I think it would have been way more hilarious had you called the election on April the 1st. I can't even say it with a straight face. Red and ready. Red and ready. Guess what? Elections, Barbados will now be on April 1st. Whatever day that is, I don't know. Maybe that's a weekend. You can't have elections on weekend. I don't know. Anyhow, before I go too far into this, let me check the comments real quick, see what's going on here, man. Good night to you too, Mr. Kennedy. Greetings to you too, family. Yeah, we know what that thing did to the people of Barbados, and nobody's talking about that. But I use the word nobody just for the expression, but I'm sure folks are having conversations privately. Mr. Athley wasn't smart enough to do a thorn maneuver. He tried. Well, that's an interesting comment. He wasn't smart enough to do a thorn maneuver. Well, what do you mean by that, Maureen, in terms of entering the DLP, disrupting the equilibrium, creating a coup, and breaking away with half the people? Damn, that almost sounds like what they were trying to do with Miss Motley, right? I don't know, family. I'm just saying, though. Something, I'm just saying, though, that almost like the same playbook, right? Who can tell? Who can tell? Who can tell? But I'll tell you what. Greetings to you too, family. Greetings, greetings. Black and white. Yeah. I'm not sure which one you're referring to that one, Pedro. Elaborate a bit. Greetings to you too, family. They took up the case as a human rights lawyer or personal lawyer. You want to know if he took up the case as a human rights lawyer or personal lawyer? Well, he's not here, but Mr. Springer will be here shortly. You could ask him those questions. Perhaps he can make a note of it. He's backstage. Body language, right? Yeah, I know, man. Shout out to Alex Mitchell, by the way. April the 1st is a real new year on the 28th day, 13th month calendar. Yeah, Alex, we could go down that road, L. It's peace more. I saw your call, by the way. I'm going to send the link in a minute. In fact, before we go there, let me go ahead and introduce our guest for the night, none other than the good brother, Mr. Springer. He's been doing a number of things locally and internationally, and we could perhaps get a program to discuss that. But tonight we're dealing with what happened and why is no one talking about this. So I want y'all to welcome, and this is no first time to this platform, our good brother, Mr. Philip Catlin Springer. Once you unmute, you can go ahead and do your thing.
Good evening, Emmanuel. Good evening to everyone here at Politically Incorrect, where we get it correct. It's been a while since I've been here, but I'm happy to be back. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, welcome. And just to add the last part, and if we're not correct, don't worry, just feel free to correct us. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean,
nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. Welcome again, brother Philip, man. It's good to see you. It's been a minute. And as you can tell, a lot of things are happening here in Barbados. Shout out to Roy, by the way. We can't not shout out Roy. Roy, we put big shout out to while we at it.
And Teresa Coward, who is one of our other representatives, running actually in the Prime Minister's constitution in this election. She's quite a citizen activist. That's what we prefer to call ourselves as opposed to politicians. So first of all, let me say Shabbat Shalom to everyone, in keeping with my Hebrew tradition. And I'm interested in having a robust conversation today about the injustices that are being carried out here in this small island of Barbados. I'm not in Barbados currently, as I'm on the road. I've been on the road for the last 9 months, just crossing the continent. I just left Burkina Faso, and so more to speak to about that later. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Thanks again. Thanks for joining us. So we could dive right into this, but before we dive right in, do you remember what happened while you were on your way to file a particular case that day? I want you, there's a reason why I'm asking you to start there, because I want the listening audience to understand the intention you had, the passion you had, the drive you had, no pun intended, but more importantly, the desire to bring justice to what you recognize as an injustice about to take place. Let's start with this morning when you got up and dressed with the intention. Bring us from that point to actually at the court.
Yes. Well, Emmanuel, I got up early that day, and I proceeded to head to the Supreme Court. And in the process of doing so, I was met with a head-on car crash, and my then BMW was destroyed, and so was at least one other car. In the process of so doing, the police came. They were there actually very quick. Within 2 minutes, they were on the scene. And a gentleman who was sitting nearby saw the entire thing and, of course, ran to our rescue. And I was given the choice to go to the hospital or go to a private doctor. But I refused to do that. I said, I want to go to the Supreme Court. I was bleeding. I was cut up quite a bit. The shatter of the glass, full of white powder that had covered my entire body from the explosion of the airbags. I was given the courtesy after the police did their initial investigations. I was given the courtesy to, and I was escorted to taken to the Supreme Court. The significance of that, Emmanuel, is that you have a time limit in which to present your matter. And if you do not get there within that time limit, well, the case over. So I insisted before I went to get any medical treatment that I'm going to the court to present my case. And so said, so done.
Well, you would think that someone who was just in a head-on collision that total not just one, but almost, well, both vehicles. And
well,
has
three vehicles, actually. There were two other vehicles that were also total beside mine, yes.
Well, you see, and you would think that a person in that position would want immediate medical attention and would normally take that course of action. Instead, you wipe off this blood and you are looking to still head to the court to fulfill the obligation that you put yourself in to make sure that you seek justice for those who you recognize would be disenfranchised, to use that word again, because of what happened as a result of this snap election. And I don't think people realize the sacrifices that some people make because of the passion that they have. And this is not even about right or wrong. The scriptures are laced and riddled with people who have done many wrongs, but recognize their wrongs, sought to do right and correct those wrongs. And the thing is, in 2026 as a people, and in fact, I listened to, and I listened to Mr. Khan's presentation the other night. I think it was last night or night before. It was last night, first night, when they had a meeting. And I thought it was at church. I was almost sure I was at church. I'm like, I don't know, this is political. I'm in Sunday school here.
Yes.
We talk about being meek, and Miss Motley has her quotes. And everybody got their quotes, but the one quote I don't hear too many people talking about is that righteousness exalts the nation. You see what I'm saying? Righteousness. You got to be right to be righteous. And there's a lot of wrongs that are not being discussed, not being touched, even in the judicial system, like you rightfully outlined. And so what you did by bringing this forward was to highlight some of the wrongs that were looking to actually take place to benefit a particular party, and highlight it because it would have disenfranchised and obviously prevented folks from having a say in what would have been their constitutional rights. Tell us then afterwards, you had filed this case, bring us up to speed as to what has happened in the last few years.
Well, very good question. We had a hearing that day in the Supreme Court, and I have my notes here in front of me, Emmanuel, because I want to stay and I want to stick to the subject at hand. This is very critical, even at this time in 2026. It's actually more critical today than it was in 22, and I'll explain that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
We were given the Judge Worrell, who was supposed to be sitting on the bench. We came there, we were there on, like I said, and we prepared to go before the judge. When it was announced that Judge Worrell was to be removed from the case, and we had a 2-hour stand down. Now imagine that I just came through a horrific accident. I'm bleeding. The doctor came all the way to the court to bandage me up. I remember the slings on my arm and my shoulder and all of that. being dressed up in the corridor of the courtroom and of the court building. And now we have to stand down for an additional 2 hours while they find another judge. Another judge was brought in 2 hours later, and she proceeded to start the motion, the hearing, and very almost seemed as though she was annoyed to be there, quite frankly. And she just continued to just pick at everything. She was just, you know, her disposition was very clear. Long and the short of it is that we went through the hearing. We presented our case. Lalu Hanneman, excellent attorney at law, and I saw a question there earlier about what was his representation. I'll address that in a few minutes. But Lalu presented my case before the justice, and then the defendants were allowed to present their case. We sued, of course, at the time, the president. She was newly minted at that time. The Attorney General's office and the Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Those were the three parties to the lawsuit. Why those three? The president, we thought, as Atherley quite rightly said, was irresponsible in issuing a writ of dissolution of Parliament 1.5 years early during a pandemic on a snap election, with only really 14 days for any of the other parties to prepare, and were caught flat-footed. The Attorney General, because he's the chief justice officer in the country, the chief police of the country, and he should have been more responsible, and at that time dissent and allow for a time period that was either better or longer to allow for people to be able to vote to cast their franchise, and their franchise is guaranteed in the Constitution. This was not done. The ECB, because they did not provide the necessary protocols for persons eligible to vote to be able to cast, once again, their franchise. Now, this word will keep coming up. It is not meant to be a fancy word. It just simply means your rights. Now, imagine there was a hearing, and I'm glad you mentioned the name Alex Mitchell. Alex Mitchell went on that broadcast, and I remember distinctly, and it's recorded, and he asked both Leslie Haynes and Hal Gollop what were the provisions that were put in place for persons who were either in institutions or were not at home but not able to go to the polling stations to be able to vote. Now, folks, why is this significant? Hal Gollop, I believe, responded. I believe it was Hal, but it was either Hal or Leslie Haynes, attorney at law, who was the heads of the ECB at the time, said that there were no provisions. There were no provisions made for persons to cast, franchise their vote. Therefore, from the get-go, they were already disenfranchised. It was a no-brainer. This was an academic exercise, an academic question. What provisions have been made for the citizens, and I don't like that word, but that's a whole nother show we will have to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Citizens of the Corporation of Barbados, given their position based on their birth certificate, to be able to cast that one right that they have, and it was taken away. It was usurped immediately without even the stroke of a pen. It was just obliterated immediately. Now, let me not get too dramatic here. The point is this: the EBC did not provide protocols for people to follow in order to cast their votes. So why was that? It was because look at the time that election was called, the week between Christmas and New Year. Now imagine we've been in a pandemic for a number of years now. People have been distancing, 6-foot distancing. Some families couldn't even see each other because if you weren't vaccinated, maybe you can't go see grandma or grandpa. You know, all kinds of things going on in people's lives that were disruptive. But all of a sudden, the same prime minister who said earlier that there would be no elections called during the pandemic had reason to call a snap election with the shortest time period available under the Constitution to have that election, and the time being be called between Christmas Day and New Year's Day, with elections to be held on the 18th day of January. We're coming out of a pandemic. We weren't even coming out. We were in the middle of a pandemic. We were disoriented. People, for the first time in about 2 years, maybe celebrated a little Christmas with family that they weren't able to do for the prior couple of years. I myself couldn't spend time with my family because they live in a different country and I couldn't travel, you know, because of the restrictions. So imagine that an election is called, and hurriedly so. But what is key here is that they were asked, and it is on tape, Alex Mitchell, yes, the same Alex Mitchell who is known to this program and who himself is the head of the Bajan Free Party, posed that question on the broadcast. I was live on it myself, well, virtual. I was on there because I was an interested party. And it was, to my surprise and shockingly so, that it was dismissed as, no, this is not significant. This is where some of the genesis of my action started, right then and there, to see that the authorities who had the powers to put things right did not seem to have a care in the world about the people of the country who are citizens and sovereign to the country. Why is this important, Emmanuel? Let me step back now to 2018. In 2018, an action was brought on the day of election against the DLP government then, stating that all, or asking for that all Commonwealth citizens, all citizens of the Commonwealth residing in Barbados at that time should have the right to vote in Barbados elections. And this would have been a precedent. This was the first time this was ever done. That Commonwealth, so if you were born in Jamaica, or if you were born in England, or if you were born in wherever,
right,
and you came to Barbados, you had the right to vote in Barbados election. I can think of two prominent lawyers who were both Jamaican who voted for the first time in that election in 2018, May 24th, in that election. Now, why is this important?
Yeah, tell us why.
Imagine, Emmanuel, that you go to court. The BLP government went to court and fought for the right for non-Barbadians to vote in the election. The election was held over that night. They extended the voting period to allow for those people. That decision was granted at 2 p.m. on the day of the election. 2 p.m. on the day of the election. So they extended the polls that night to allow for those persons to cast and to exercise their franchise. Now imagine then, let's go back now or fast forward to 2022. And in 2022, you have a pandemic where actual Barbadians are being denied the right to vote, but there's no provision put in place for a born sovereign Barbadian to exercise their franchise.
So let me see if I get you straight here now. And this is, let me just see if I can play God's advocate here for a second. You're telling me that, well, first of all, who brought that action in the court? Let me just throw that out there as.
Well, the BLP brought it, but the lawyers involved in that.
You're saying that the BLP brought that action that was granted that allowed CARICOM members in Barbados for the first time.
No, CARICOM, Commonwealth.
Sorry. Commonwealth. Wait, hold on a minute. I said CARICOM, Phil. I said CARICOM. That's that's we right here in the region.
Yeah.
Commonwealth. Australia is Commonwealth.
New Zealand, Australia, anywhere that you came from in the Commonwealth, you were allowed to vote in Barbados election.
Let me get this straight. You're telling us here, right? You know what? Put up or shut up.
Shut up.
We're gonna look for that site. We're gonna look for that case. In fact, I see we got some researchers on here tonight, so I know they already on it. We need the paperwork pertaining to that to see if that is so. You're telling me that Barbadians were denied and Commonwealth individuals were allowed to vote in our election, is what you're telling us?
Correct. For the first time. The first time in Barbados history.
It wasn't a problem.
Wasn't a problem.
Wasn't a problem.
Then the LP government acquiesced and allowed for that to happen. Now, we got a landslide of 30-0.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there were ballot boxes coming in later in that night. Someone made a joke about the yellow bus showing up with a ballot box that knocked Adriel Braffett out of contention. Immediately, he was ahead, and all of a sudden, he lost the election.
This sounds like a whole movie waiting to happen. But anyhow, so we're in 2022, all the different changes taking place, middle of a pandemic that's been going on for quite a while, a lot of different things happening, people are uncertain, and there's a snap election call, which, like Athlete said, and I agree, only happened according to what we know because there was supposed to be an inside coup being formed. Like I said earlier, like somebody else splitting up a party. But nevertheless, where do you find yourself on the day of election in Barbados 2022?
Where did I find myself?
Yes.
Where was I?
Yes.
On the day of election in 2022, I was at the polling station there in Melrose in St. Thomas. Where
You went. So you went to vote. So you had to take your ID, the whole 9 yards.
Yes.
Okay. So you got a chance to vote?
No, sir. I was not on the voting list, but I was on the voting list the
Whoa.
week earlier.
Hold on. What do you mean that you wasn't on the voting list?
Well, I went to the NHC like everyone when I got frustrated with the process and I couldn't get any justification. I decided to run as a candidate. Myself and a couple of other persons went to the NHC. You were there that day, Emmanuel. You saw me go and pay my $250 and got my receipt, which I still have to this day as a memoir. And registered the Barbados Sovereignty Party at the time. Okay, now went to and got enumerated the following week or a few days later, and then went, of course, the 2 weeks, had the car crashed during that time, so I couldn't campaign very much. I was banged up, but I did the best I could. I went out there and I still knocked doors and spoke to the folks. But on the day of election, I arrived at Sharon's church. I believe that's where the first place I went to. And they told me that they've checked the list and they're checking and they're up and down, and they got the ruler and the pencil and they're checking every line. And nope. So they sent me from there to the 7 Days Adventist Church in King Garden. They told me, no.
You had to leave one. Oh, so you were not on that list.
So they said, but I would be at King Garden.
Okay, so you go over to King Garden. Makes
I
sense.
get
So,
in my vehicle.
so you got a chance to vote then.
I get in my vehicle. I have a cameraman with me. I have a camera. I made sure I was documenting. I had a cameraman with me. I had 2 other parties with me as witnesses to this. And I went to King Garden to the 7 Days Adventist Church, and they told me, no, you're not here. You're not here either. So they sent me to another polling station. So I went to 3 polling stations trying to find my name on the list. I haven't found it yet, Emmanuel.
So let me see if I get this straight. Your name was not on that list. They told you that you had to go to this place as if they knew. You went to that place. You were not on that list. You told to go to another place. You went to the other place. And you're not on that list either?
Not on that list either.
So did you get a chance to vote though?
No, I did not vote, sir.
You couldn't even vote for one election that you're running as a candidate?
Yes. And a week earlier, when I presented myself, I was on the list. Supposedly, they checked the list and I was on the list. But on the day of election, I was not on the list anymore. Okay.
I don't even know what to say. That is just... So in other words, there were issues with the list of names even from back then?
Correct.
So wait a minute. Hold on, man. And don't get me wrong here. So what exactly does the Electoral Boundaries Commission, what is it that they do? Because apart from working every 5 years or 4 years or 3.5, according to what's happening lately, what exactly do they do? Because if they couldn't get it right in all that time we had, then how are we going to get it right in elections, what, 3 weeks?
Yep.
2.5 and counting?
Exactly. And you have a census board here in Barbados as well, where people go around almost on a daily basis all over Barbados taking census information. I have 2 persons that I know personally that work in actually 3 persons. One of them ran for office themselves in the election.
Might not be what you think. You're saying census, but that might not, that just collection of data for different reasons. Who knows?
My point, though, is that with that, they could send people around because now apparently, as of was it yesterday, one of our people who was trying to run, Michael Thompson, who ran in the previous election, who is also left off and was not able to vote in the last election either. He had to send his wife. He went to NHC earlier last week when they were down there registering and couldn't find himself on the list. Now, in addition to that, he sends his wife down. They said, oh, they have to come to the house to, they have to come to the address to verify that you actually live at that address and that you, in fact, are who you said you are. I find that so interesting. If they were to do that, it would take them about 10 years to get everybody in Barbados registered. Okay? I know people who received phone calls. I'm not going to call their name because they didn't give me permission to do so. But people, fairly prominent people in Barbados who are well enough known who have been left off the list. And in fact, they're now calling them in these last few days over the telephone to confirm that they're in fact, I guess, either breathing or that they're still on this side of the planet. I'm not sure what the hell they're trying to achieve. They have, you know, you asked a question just now. The Electoral and Boundaries Commission has not met in 2 years, apparently, based on what one of the attorneys have told me. They've not met in 2 years. And imagine that they're carrying out elections. They were not prepared for these 2026 elections. The list, apparently, based on what I am told, they have 8,000 persons have been removed from the voters list for this election, 2026. It's even worse than 2022. I am told reliably that 8,000 eligible voters have been removed from this election voting list. And I'm told that there are people on that list so old, some of them are 125 years old. I'm told that there are people on that list that have been dead and buried for some time. And these are people working inside of the Electoral and Boundaries Commission and doing this work. I was told that by 2 sources. Emmanuel.
That sounds a bit strange.
I'm not the only one that knows this, sir. I'm not the only one that knows this. I think our dear friend from the DLP, I'm not sure if he's a D or a B, but he's running the DLP now. I think he well knows this too, and I think he knows something because he's been mouthing off about bringing an injunction, but he hasn't brought the injunction yet. Why? Because Philip Catlin Springer took the leadership role and went forward when all of them stood back. I went to a number of these parties, including that party, and I asked for their support in this court matter, and they told me no, they would not go against the government.
Come on, you know
yes.
why. You know why. In fact, speaking of knowing why, I'm gonna do something in a minute, but I'll get to that. And my thing is, growing up in Barbados, American elections for some reason was always shown on our television. I don't know why, and we would watch it, and I would see, there were people while it is going on. You would have people commenting on different candidates and different places and different states and stuff. Barbados is really no different, and so when you think about it, you as a candidate in your area, you go to vote in your own area, and you're not even on the list. Okay, all right. Let's say it was a little typo. You transferred for whatever reason. Somebody dropped the envelope. I don't know. You go and it's still not there. You go and you're getting to run around the entire day to the point where you don't even get to vote in your own election. This is crazy. This is the thing about it's crazy. But yet now you would think that, okay, if they had challenges then, they would have been working all along from 2022, knowing that an election was going to be called at some point in time, and that they would have been working towards correcting, whatever, as far as the names, like I totally get it. I'm sure there are names on there that don't exist. But again, if you're fighting for, I don't even know. Allow me to be politically incorrect here for a second, Phil.
Yes, please.
Is it for lack of knowledge that we find ourselves in this position? Like, think about it. Being the prime minister is a position of power.
Yes, it is.
It is a position of power. Not that you can help the people and put measures in place to change the social demographics and the lifestyle and the word that I keep hearing lately now also is poverty, which is weird because poverty has nothing to do with money. But we'll talk about that later. We'll discuss that one later. The thing I'm saying is that it's a position of power. What we are seeing is people fighting for position of power.
Yes.
You're fighting for a position of power. Well, guess what? Depending on who the individual is, the moral compass may not all be pointing at true north. We got to keep that in mind. And so that there are people who have not been in position for quite some time. And I go on, I might just do it because, I might just do it. I might just do it, Phil. Bear with me. The Spirit would have to show me otherwise. There are people who work in government who've been sitting in positions of permanent secretaries and other designations, what they call appointees. They've been appointed. Yes. And they've been sitting there for decades. And in some cases, I'm not saying all, because I've met some good people doing work in Barbados, and I applaud them. But there's some folks that got their own little side hustle, their own side racket, their own side this, side that, all kind of stuff going on that pretty much destabilizes the entire infrastructure of the country and everything else that goes with it. But we don't even address that because they're working in collaboration to maintain the position of power. It's beneficial to them. Now, if you feel some type of way about what I just said, it is probably you I'm talking about. I'm just saying that out front. Yes. Because that's the reality. There's no way we should be comfortable as a people at this point, recognizing, and everybody trying to get a little favor. I get it. I really do. What I don't get, however, is when we can recognize, well, we as a people are being disadvantaged by this, disenfranchised by what's going on. Because think about it, Phil. When I hear about this red book or book of whatever book they got they advertising, which is alarming as far as I'm concerned. Now, boy, this is a different game we playing. All the different things that they would have done, they say over 100 and something things they would have done for the nation. Where the money went. They told where the money went. I wonder, and this goes to the whole Barbadian nation as a whole. Anybody who has that book, whether you are BLP, DLP, as just a spy, or you're peeping, you know what I'm saying? One question. I have one question about that book. Does that book, listen, man, Phil, help me here, brother.
Yes.
Does that book outline the contracts that were also awarded in Barbados to the companies by name and the amount the contracts were awarded for?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Hold on. The book says they be going to show you where your money was spent.
Yes. I know what the book says.
So I don't really want to know where it was spent. I want to know where it went.
Yes.
Well, hold on. Wait. To tell me it was spent on buying 60 new buses at this cost. That seems reasonable. You could calculate, you could add. To tell me it was spent on buying asphalt and to put down the new mill and pave or whatever you call it, that calculate, that makes sense. To tell me it was spent on paint to put the buildings and the school, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yes.
What we want to know, right? Like the vaccines with the investment company, we want to know who got the contract, how much was awarded for. That is the detail. We want a forensic audit, not the gloss over booklet with the pamphlet and pictures. We didn't want that. Well, some Barbadians might be satisfied with that. But Phil, we ain't going in for that at all. You can't or like tell it raining. But say that one time. So we ain't playing that game. So let me ask you a question here, Phil. Considering all that happened, the hearings, the files, the delays, 2022. Here's this you filed this in 2022. Here it is 2026. They got books and everything printed and published. Did they, through that whole time, work as diligent to get this case resolved as because the urgent application? Did they work assiduously to make sure this was dealt with accordingly?
Emmanuel, the answer is simply no.
In a timely manner?
The answer is simply no. We had 11 adjournments. They asked for 11 adjournments over 4 years. 11 adjournments over a 4-year period. If you go back to January 17, 2022, right through until November 28th, 2025, they asked for all the adjournments in this matter, and they adjourned me 11 times.
Has there been a resolution?
I threatened to go to the CCJ, but of course I couldn't go until a decision was granted. So they knew they were stalling. Guy Smiley came out and he said, "This is an academic exercise." That's what he said. That's what Guy Smiley said. Our chief police officer of this country, our chief legal officer of this country, made the statement, which is on tape, this is simply an academic exercise. That's why I used it when we started the program tonight, because we want to show them that academics isn't a one-sided thing and not one person got all the brains and other people don't. Okay?
Has there been a resolution as yet?
There has been some resolution. But let me address that properly. There is a resolution that has been handed down by the court on the 28th of November, 2025, which has not made hardly any media at all. I think one publication mentioned it, but they said, "Oh, former candidate, whatever, was denied."
Hold on. Let me get that one. Don't quote it. Don't quote it. Let me get it because this is important. This is important.
Yes.
Very important. So let me go ahead and put this up on the screen here. If I can find it. Where is it? Okay, let me just add this. There you go.
Judge rules against ex-candidate full of cat. Now, the truth is, yes, he did. You know what the judge ruled against me? That I am not to be paid my costs for the case that I brought against the government, nor damages, even though I won. I was awarded a victory because the government could not file a defense they were given an extra year. Not this December, but December before in 24, I was in the court in Barbados when the judge ordered them to file a defense. Sorry, that was November. They were ordered by December 31st to file a defense after 3 years that they hadn't yet filed one shred of defense. All they were doing the whole time was moving to have the case struck off. That's all that was the only defense they had, was that they keep trying to strike it off. One, it was the election had already been held, and because elections had already been held, this was now just an academic exercise, and the people were happy in Barbados. So since the people were happy, Philip Catlin, you're just a nuisance. Why are you coming in here wasting the court's time? Now they had 18 attorneys against Lalu and myself. That's it. 18. 12 QC / when the Queen died, they all became KCs at $1,000 an hour.
Whoa. So who's supposed to be paying for this, by the way?
Me.
They want you to pay them, but now you won. They don't want to pay you.
Exactly. If I had lost that case, Emmanuel, I would have been looking for about $1.8 to $2 million right now to pay the government for bringing the case that I would have lost. But because it turned the other side, let me explain something to you, sir, with all due respect. Before we went into the courts, we already knew the outcome of this case. We sat down and we looked at this case. Was brought exactly the same case that was filed in 2018, which two persons, Abrams and the boy there, Gregory Nichols, who's now running in St. Thomas, where I ran, along with her father, they filed this case in the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. Now, let me say this. You imagine that we filed the exact same case. All we did was shifted it to now be Barbadians, not Commonwealth citizens, but show that Barbadians. You saw the article there by The Nation saying that 5,700 or thereabouts. I think our claim was 7,000, but 5,700 people were being disenfranchised. It's a no-brainer.
Right.
There's no argument. They have already admitted that in the media. Okay, so how could you tell me now that no one is disenfranchised? How is that possible?
Let me ask this question here then, because let me go ahead and again play God's advocate, because this is interesting, because this is a nation. By the way, has anyone viewing this at this point, have anyone ever seen this article from November 29th? My grandmother was the type of woman that used to collect papers. And I know that most people who have by nation newspapers tend to keep them around the house for a bit longer than just the day or the 2 or the week. I want somebody to go and check November the 29th, 2025, and see if you find an article that say judge rule against ex-candidate in the Nation newspaper. And the reason why I'm asking this is because when I scroll down here on the same page, and I go down looking for the article, I don't see the article. In fact, there's no article. In fact, I am told after reading one section, defeated candidate in the 2022 general election, Philip Catlin, was not disenfranchised by the delay in the hearing and adjudications of his election matter by the Court of Appeal. Okay.
That is false. That is false.
Then it says,
Donald Trump would love that because he called false news. False news.
Okay, but then it says, this in bold letters, by the way, this content is only for subscribers. So I'm thinking, wait a minute.
They're singing to the peanut gallery.
But hold on a second. Let's be fair. The Nation is, I don't know. Anyhow, so somebody please check the newspaper to see if this was published, because if it wasn't published in the newspaper, this article would then only have been published online for those special folks who pay for the subscription online. I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. I'm just saying it's a bit strange. So I'm hoping that it's actually a whole article in the newspaper outlining what really happened, as opposed to spinning it in such a way where it states that judge rules against ex-candidate, when in reality it doesn't look that way based on the paperwork that I read. Nevertheless, Phil, my other question is, why would the media, or why is the media not putting more attention to this matter? What are your thoughts on
That
that?
is the $64,000 question. I have been called by one reporter whom I've not spoken to yet, because every time I have spoken to this reporter, including the day on the steps of the Supreme Court, I find that the information being printed is slanderous, and it's there to degrade and to denigrate my image and my character. I didn't go into this, Emmanuel, to try to assault anyone or to cause damage to anyone's reputation. I simply, as a concerned citizen, wanted to have my rights properly adjudicated and have the rights of all Barbadians who are interested in what we call democracy. I don't know if I really actually believe that. I have a little problem. I ask people now, since this case, what is the definition of democracy? And they give me all, look, there's probably about 10 different definitions that people give me as to what is democracy. But none of it makes sense, because who is benefiting from a snap election in a pandemic a year and a half earlier? Now, fast forward to 2026 and see that the same scenario is being played out again. We have all the rumors of 2022 and why that was done, but we want to know what is causing 2026. Is it again the horse is raising his head in the barn and it's
Wait. Hold on a second. Are you suggesting that there's a ulterior motive to call election this
Absolutely.
as a wait, hold on. You're saying there's another reason to call it other than because Mr. Thorne keep taunting her to call it?
Absolutely.
Oh,
I think that based on two scenarios. One, there was no plausible defense that could have been meted against me in the case. One, because if they had ruled against me, it would have nullified the elections of 2018. If they had, let me repeat, and we knew this going in, if they had ruled against me in this case, they have to go back and erase 2018. And if I won, it means that 2022 was unconstitutional, because the Constitution says, and it clearly says in the decision, that my rights were constitutionally violated, sir. You have a copy of the document at your disposal, and it's available at the printer. You can go to the Supreme Court and go to and buy a copy. Anyone can do that. That's public knowledge. That's your right. But look at this. Imagine for 1 minute that a judge, because they could not file a defense and they were trying to run it out, if they could have gotten another year out of the judge, they would have done so. But because the judge had already given them a deadline of December 31st, 2024, and he extended it till June, August, September, okay, all the way to November. They kept giving excuses. Now, let me also say one thing. And Roy Turney was with me in the courts when back in, I think it was March of last year, for the many delays that they had asked and caused in the case. The judge, the Honorable Patrick Wells, ordered them to pay me costs at that time. They were ordered to pay me costs for the delays, for the number of times that I had been to the court, and every time we went there, they weren't ready. There was this. You know that has never been paid to this day.
Well, I would
never been paid to this day. Last time I was in the court, they were saying how it has to go through all these various different departments and channels, blah 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 blah, to get those funds to be paid to my team. And then what I find interesting, though, that was earlier. Now, when the final decision comes down, because they can't come with a defense, there's a ruling that says I am not entitled to costs furthermore damages, but he ordered me costs back in March. Now, what is the difference between ordering costs then and
Right.
ordering costs now
Oh.
that I've won the case? How does that work? That's a two-edged sword, Emmanuel. And everything I said obviously is there because it would have to be in the court transcripts. It would have to be in the court records. Okay, so I'm not making this up. I cannot understand how 1 minute you can order costs for all the delays that I've had. My constitutional rights have now been violated. This case, according to the Constitution, it was an urgent application, should have been heard within 6 months. They stretched it out 4 years. Look at the date that this election was called, Emmanuel, the 17th day of January, the day
When
that
did-
my
when did you-
4 years exactly.
When did you file this application?
Pardon?
When did you file the application?
The 17th day. Well, it was filed probably like the 15th or so, 3 days before the election, the 15th. But our
Right.
hearing, the hearing that I went to was on the 17th, which was the day before.
Hearing was on the 17th, and this election was called on the exact same day.
4 years exactly to the day.
Mm.
No, that's not a coincidence by any stretch of the imagination. But what they were not counting on was that the judge had enough, and he said, listen, I'm giving a judgment against you. So now, during the Christmas holiday, they would have known that the judgment was rendered. And I want to address that, Emmanuel, because it's only half of a judgment. It's only half of a judgment.
Yeah, we can get to that next. Let me
Clarify that for the viewers. They did rule on my constitutional violations and so on and so forth. But what they managed to sweep under the carpet so far, and I'm not adjudicated, is the fact that 7,000 persons, I'm asking for relief for 7,000 persons that were disenfranchised. So either they don't want to pay up, or they don't want to admit, even though they've already admitted it in the papers, so they can't take it back now. It's pretty much public knowledge. And this did not need Emmanuel to go to this level, because I was prepared to have a sit down with them at any point in time to have these matters resolved amicably, and to allow for the people of Barbados to be able to cast their votes and to be able to exercise their franchise. That was really my intent. I want to also, I'm going to come to another point, but I don't want to get away from this one yet.
Mm-hmm.
Emmanuel, the point is that the issue of the disenfranchisement of the people of Barbados has not been addressed. Yes, they have said that my constitution has been violated. Clearly, it says so in the decision. You have the decision right there on your screen, and anyone can see it. And so, therefore, if that is the case, the Constitution says, if you disenfranchise one eligible voter, all votes are null and void. This comes now to the point of why a snap election. You have an unconstitutional government pandering for the last 4 years, knowing that they were unconstitutional, making changes to the country without proper foundation. And now that it is going to become public, they go and call a snap election to try to get past all of this, get another election, hopefully get another 30-0 or some significant majority, and then say, oh, well, it's a moot point. It's just academics now. So therefore, throw the case.
So hold on. That would basically give the appearance that, well, it wouldn't matter because we just had an election and it was fair election and everything was done right. There's no COVID and nobody was harmed. So, although you have a valid point and you're suggesting by that this might have been illegal government, the reality is at this point, they can then say, well, it doesn't matter. We just had an election and everything is all peachy and cream.
And the people gave us a majority. The people gave us a mandate. But you had a mandate in 2018 that you didn't live up to. You had a mandate in 2022, supposedly, that you didn't live up to. So why should we give you another chance in 2026? You've never carried to the term. You keep calling elections. Listen, let me tell you two things here, Emmanuel. And I'm not going to call the names, but I think you know a little bit about what I'm going to say now. During the process of this case, about a year ago or so, when it got to the critical point, one of the persons from within the government contacted my attorney, Lalu Hanneman, and asked him to convince me to drop this matter. It was an embarrassment. His words were, "The case is an embarrassment to the government. Have Springer, have your client stand down and let's stop." They didn't say let's come together and give the people representation and allow for some sort of a resolution that would have been, good for the people of Barbados. The individual called my attorney and asked my attorney to have me drop the case. Because
now, let me ask you a question. You don't want to call a name for any particular reason?
Well, no, I could call the name, but I'm saving it. I'm saving it for a rainy day, brother. The rain is coming. I can see the rain over there, just not too far away. But you'll be one of the first to know. Trust me. And you know who it is. You already know. So don't tease me. I'm not gonna say the name right now.
No.
I'm not gonna say the name.
I won't even go there.
This is a person that is in the public domain every day and propagandizing for this government. This is the same person that looked me in my face 3 years earlier and told me that the prime minister doesn't have one original idea in her head and she doesn't know how to run a country. Well, look, if I was a prostitute, whoever give me the highest bid right now, I would give up that, just like that. Okay, so I'm not a prostitute, so I'm not gonna do that. Okay, no offense to any prostitutes out there. All I'm saying, Emmanuel, this same individual is on media every day in Barbados, telling Barbadians what a great job that this prime minister or this government is doing. But what he doesn't tell people is that he's paid a handsome fee of almost $18,000 a month plus expenses to do that. And then he is the same one that told me, not secondhand information now, to my face with a witness present, that the prime minister does not have one original idea in her head and she does not know how to run a country. I guess he must be smarter and he must know. So he's in the government now, but the government's still doing what it's doing. So there you go, bro.
Let me say this then, because with that information, anybody would, could piece that puzzle together. But let me say this.
I left it hanging out there so they can figure out for yourself. It's not difficult to figure out.
I'll tell you why I won't go there. Because, we're not even going to give him no credit, no strength, period. I'll tell you this, though. What I'm concerned about is that, I know I saw someone commented earlier about us not understanding how politics works. And quite frankly, there are enough people in this space that fully understand, but that's not the point. There are people who are watching that might not be aware of some things. And the idea is to give the people milk rather than meat. You got to meet people where they're at and bring them to a level of consciousness from a state of not knowing to a place of knowing. And what we do know for a fact is that the same arrow barrel everybody talk about and big up Father Independence, all this kind of stuff, DLP, St. John, especially St. John. One of the things he also quoted, other than friends of all satellites to none, was if Black people in Barbados want justice. Hello, somebody. If Black people in Barbados want justice, what was that one thing he told us to do? Stay away from the who? The court system. You understand? Yes. He said, stay far from it. If you really want justice in this country, stay away from it. Now, I don't hear the prime ministers quoting that too often because right now I'm involved in a matter as well. And believe you me, this particular judge or this, well, I didn't want to call them judges. These individuals that they get put in a position that they feel they have power for some reason, really think it is power because they sit there and you could literally see right through them. Who getting bribed because there's no way I could present this facts to you. You see the facts, even if you don't understand the facts, especially when it pertains to fraud. And hope somebody send this to her and she see the link. Because if you see this as fraud, even if you don't know it as fraud, they're fraudulent allegations. So if you go in your car, Phil, to drive, and somebody say, well, you know, them brakes ain't working properly here, whether you know it or not, you look on the ground and see couple splats of oil, you're a mechanic, you ain't really sure. What is the next thing to do? Jump in the car, hit Spring Garden, Gaudi, and do 160 switching 4 lanes, or check it and see or call him. At least check it and see or call the mechanic. Everything stops. Do you put the whole family in the car and go for a spin, or do you check first? Everything on pause. You would think common sense would suggest you pause it. Not these judges, boy. When it's about money and land being sold to some private shell corporation, whose name I won't mention at this point, but I'm telling you, family, this Barbados and Barbadians, let me say this to my people, man. And Phil, I want you to give me a closing thought before you go there. Think about it. And I gotta ask you a question first. I gonna say this to Barbados though. Like me personally, I hear again, well, I'll get that in a minute. Mr. Thorne talking about voting and so on. Everybody talking voting, and it's crazy. And taxes and taxes and taxes. The new buzzword again is taxes. Let me say this, people. If we really look back and see where we came from as a people, the Lord has been the people's guide for the past
300 years.
Well, I suspect that Lord and the people that referring to may not necessarily be what we interpret it, because the Lord is considered also the Lord of the plantation. The anthem did not God.
Yes.
The national. I want Barbadians to think carefully, because all the words he could have chosen to use, the man that is well knowledgeable and well read, he could have wrote, God has been the people's guide. Or he could have wrote, if he was a Christian, Jesus has been the people's guide. You know, he could have wrote, Elohim was the people's guide. He could have put Yahweh. He could have put Allah. He could have put a lot of things. The word he chose to use. This is a learned man.
Yes.
Lord.
The Lord.
You look in any Bible dictionary, and this is my people again. If you look in any Bible dictionary, go look up the word Lord and wait, hold on.
But Emmanuel, why are you doing that? You realize that the word Lord was inserted and replaced the name of God in the Bible, what, 7,000 times?
Hold on, Phil. Hold on, Phil. You take it like, I'm not giving up. No, I'm not giving up. Nah, we ain't doing that. If people are interested, Phil, let them go and look. Seek and ye shall.
Who is the Lord?
We could discuss it. You can discuss it. So like I said, go and look up the word Lord in your Strong's Concordance. There's one right there in the corner, that big book there. Go look up the Hebrew English translation and turn it around. So yes, we have inserted in the Bible over 3,000 or 4,000 times to replace the actual name. But hold on now, this is the best part. But what most people might not know is what the word Lord really actually means.
There you go.
You know, having said that, Phil, let me answer this question. You give us your thoughts, and we can go in and we can part 2 this, part 3 this. Here's a question for you. Considering now that, and I actually had that person's name here on the line, but we ain't gonna call it. I definitely ain't calling it. So here's the thing. We talked about parties and after the party, you got the after party, and then you got the state of drunkenness and creation. How do you feel now, knowing that you have fought for the last 4 years since 2022, or in fact, almost to the day, almost having lost your life, and have gone through so much since then till now? How do you feel now when you see this almost like deja vu being repeated? How do you feel, and what would you say to Barbados now, knowing how the last one turned out? What would you say to the people of Barbados in hindsight?
Neither of the above, neither B or D. And that's what I'm going to be running with my people in Barbados. Emmanuel, it's 2:45 in the morning where I am here.
Mm.
2:45 in the morning, and I'm still here fighting. But none of the above, neither B nor D. That is going to be my campaign mantra that's going to be sent to the Barbadian people starting in a few days. Neither B nor D, because you have the same animal dressed in two different outfits, but carrying out the same wishes of the master. We call ourselves Barbados Sovereignty for a reason. And I wish PP Turney was here because he likes to advocate on this a lot. We call ourselves sovereignty because we've never been independent, despite the fact that they told us in 66 that we got independence. When we got this thing called independence, it was actually interdependence or more dependence. And then on top of that, we now have a republic that no one had a say in. We have a president that no one elected. This is a second president that's been appointed in the office with no consultation of the people. Emmanuel, what are we doing? What are we doing?
I want to use this map. That's a good question. I'm gonna show you this map to illustrate that we don't have a clue what we're doing. And I run through this pretty quick because I want to get to the next one, really. If we zoom in on this thing on a serious note here, and we start to take this thing somewhat halfway serious. Let me see if I can get it closer. Hang on a second. Let me get this closer. Let me get it closer. Hang on. Let me see if I can get this closer. Let me go and share this so I can zoom in on this thing here. I want to zoom in on this here real quick. Share. Add that. Okay. Let me see. Yeah, I can zoom. There you go. There you go. I want to zoom in on this thing. And we're starting with the north. Well, we're just going over it briefly. As you can see, the red and white, well, yellow, basically, the black would be considered someone else from a different party or a different place in this instance. Although there's no picture, this is the media, by the way. There's no image for the person. So a person looking in the newspaper seeing this, all they're seeing is the two faces. In this case, this is City of Bridgetown. Michael Ashley and the other guy there, whatever his name is, Mr. Rowe, it looks like. Is Rowe? Yeah, Rowe. So my point is, you see the two faces and you don't know who's the mystery man. There's all these mystery people in here. So even if a person had an opportunity, I would like to think that, like my brother here, Alex Mitchell, and I cannot not do this because it is very disingenuous of the media. There's plenty of pictures of Alex about the place knocking about. You ain't gotta call him or not to send a post, a picture, whatever. Facebook, all over, media, news outlets. I'm sure Barbados today know enough people they can network and call. Why they ain't got a picture of Alex so that when people see and they will know who this young man is, they can say, well, look, I voted for Alex rather than any of the other two candidates, which, might be a whole nother conversation. And so we see this repeated pattern promoting certain things. It's all subconscious and subliminal. But what I want to get to also is the fact that when people really subscribe to this thing, that buy into it, and I use the word buy-in because they got to be a buy-in, you notice that there are people who are put amongst you. When individuals actually have a chance, I'm not saying that Alex don't have a chance amongst some other two cats. The people in that area may not know who Alex is, never seen a picture, never heard him, don't have a clue. So they cannot vote for someone they don't know. That's pretty straightforward, right?
Correct.
But in other areas where people have been on the ground working hard all over the place that they know, and I know Alex been working, don't get me wrong. I know he's been working and canvassing and campaigning. To what extent, I can't speak on. Hopefully he could come on and she could speak on that when the time comes, maybe next week or so. But in other areas, for example, and I'm going to go to St. Philip, one of the other large areas, because I noticed there are not too many areas where you got 3 and 4 candidates. Take St. John, for example. You got the good brother Kimar. I cannot not mention Kimar. I honestly felt Kimar would have won St. John. In fact, I don't know if I feel that way anymore, Not that he can't still win St. John. I would love him to win St. John. I don't think he can win St. John because of one reason and one reason only. You want to guess what that reason is?
The system. The system.
Mr. Thorne has decided he's going to St. John too.
Why?
But
Because
Mr.
of the system.
Hold on. Mr. Thorne has a propensity to divide places. So the folks that might have been going for Mr. Stuart Kimar in the first place, that would have get this other guy probably a run for his money, and he probably would have really won it. But now Thorne in St. John in Kimar's backyard, now fishing in Kimar's aquarium. So you feel he liable to split St. John now, those in favor of Kimar and too, because those in favor of the BLP, they ain't getting away because they get what they get. Caliban, who knows. But now if since Mr. Thorne is going up in there, well, that might split Kimar in half, cause him now to maybe not get as much support as he was going to get previously. And where in the world is Fred Corbin? Why can't nobody seem to tell me where is Fred Corbin? Not that I'm really too concerned. I'm more concerned for the fact that I thought he was going to support Kimar and make things happen. I didn't know what he might disappear to. Can somebody shed some light on that? The other thing I want to mention too is, let's go down here a little bit. St. Philip West. Now I got to go here because he got Miss Kay McConney. Remember her in Ministry of Education with the children and the whole the census, whatever they call it, the instrument. She never came back to Barbadians and spoke about why our children were subjected to such madness without even having the audacity to come and say, well, look, I apologize. I take responsibility. Nope. She shifted the blame, passed it off, be doing an investigation, and never came back. Never. But yet, that same area has, the LP candidates, that young lady from the Friends of Democracy, and none other than Lynette Eastman. Now, wait a minute. I would like to think that young lady had a great chance in splitting that whole area and not to winning that seat. But now Lynette is in the game. So when we start seeing this, I start to wonder, I really wonder this thing for truth, like, I just wonder sometimes, man. I just wonder sometimes, man. I really wonder sometimes. The brothers say we don't get politics. I'll tell you what we don't get. We don't get the fact that politics is a fight for power. And they say that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So what I would say to Barbadians at this point is, we as a people got to start thinking outside of the political box. We have been given stuff for years, decades, and consistently, ever so often, there's a political ping pong return. One party get the ball, ping, knock it on the other side, ping, back on the other side, ping, back on the other side, ping, back on the other side. And it goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth like a piece of wire. And anybody know that if you bend a wire back and forth long enough, you keep bending it forth long enough. You bend it back and forth long enough, Phil. Let me talk, Phil. You bend it back and forth long enough. What will happen to it?
It'll break every time.
To break. It's inevitable. And speaking of broken and breaking, I cannot not add this one here to the screen before we go, Phil. Let me just add this. No, I don't get. Let me put it this way. Bridgetown is such a place where some of the most unique cultures exist in probably the smallest demographic or closest demographic in terms of housing and people. And Bridgetown is unique. It's just unique. And so one left, Miss Elaine took a different turn, and Mr. Lashley, who was actually part of the DLP, is now the BLP. And I just want to say this, man. Like, a matter of, I don't know, man. How does one now go into an area that no one knows you, never heard you in terms of representing them, and now you claim you're going to represent them? Are people voting? My question for the people in Bridgetown, are you voting for Michael Lashley or are you voting for the BLP? Because there's a difference, because There's no way anybody could tell me that I won't even play the audio. I ain't gonna play the audio. I ain't even gonna do that. There's no way people could tell me that even he don't seem comfortable in the area. It might seem like he seem comfortable. He ain't comfortable. He from St. Philip. He in Bridgetown. We all know that. Nah, Bridgetown is that kind of place where you gotta love the people, you gotta know the people, you gotta be with the people, you gotta be amongst the people. And outside of this walk right here, I doubt very much if he does actually win the space. I look, man, I don't know if he is or isn't coming forward, right? But I'll tell you this much. Bridgetown, man, think about what you all have never gotten from going back as far as, what's the guy name? That DLP guy, what's the name? Torp, not Torp. Brown skin fella, man. Todd. They just be doing Bridgetown dirty, man. That's all I got to say about that, man, Phil. Listen, man. Wild
I
man.
find it interesting. I only for the first time actually saw that video, but that video speaks volumes for itself. Look at the part. Look at the persons in that video. I'm not going to say anything. Let people make up their own mind. Optics. Jane Goddard said it here. Someone named Jane Goddard, MJ Goddard, said that pictures are critical. In the last election that I ran in 22, they never posted a picture of me. Even when they did interviews with me, they never put a picture. All they put was that black silhouette. Always, always about the case. And now that they will put a picture in recent times, it's always with a mask on from the COVID time. And of course, wearing my skull cap, all people can see are like my eyes, you see. It is very important. It is very important. Optics are very, very, very important. And especially, in an election where you are presenting yourself, as you said, if people don't know you, they're not likely to vote for you. And so I went to the nation. And others, and I said to them, look, here are some pictures. I brought them professionally done pictures because during that campaign, I made sure that I dotted the I's and crossed the T's. And you know what they said? Oh, we don't need it. We have plenty of pictures of you. We don't need them. But they still kept posting silhouettes the whole time. So this is an instruction obviously given from some position, someplace, somewhere in the system, that some people are not to be seen in Barbados as being representative of the people of Barbados. Now, let me say this, Emmanuel, in our closing moments. I'm not a politician, but I'm a citizens activist, and I'm prepared to stand up for the citizens of Barbados every time, all the time. But not just Barbados, even the Caribbean. I'm now working on the continent with my organization. As some of you may not know, the CEO of ADDI and CEPA, two of the largest Pan-African organizations in the globe today. And I just took 1,000 people to Burkina Faso, and we got crashed by another 200 and something, almost 300 people. So 1,300 people, let's say, rounded off at that, to Burkina Faso to show solidarity with Captain Ibrahim Traore. We also met with the captain, and let me say this, folks. The captain said to us, bring home my Caribbean people, those people who were kidnapped and enslaved. I want to see representation. He called the name Jamaica. He said, I want to see some Jamaicans. I want to see someone from Marcus Garvey's family. I want to see someone from Bob Marley's family. He said those specific words, and it's on tape. Now imagine that we, the Caribbean folks, were really the ones brought here initially, and then the Americans and the rest were populated from us. So that's a whole nother history lesson we don't need to go into now. But the point is this, that in June of this year, I'm taking another delegation to Burkina. We already have over 800 persons from the Caribbean that have signed up for this excursion to Burkina Faso to meet the captain. A man of 37 years old. And if you see the charisma and the power of this man, he's real. He's not driving around a big old Mercedes or BMW or something. He drives in a military pickup with his security. Okay, he speaks clearly, frankly, and he is a man of the people. The people of Burkina Faso loves this man because he represents their interests. Okay, I say that to say there's a stark difference in governance that we see in the West. We see a stark difference. Here it is about the politician running for office to ingratiate himself to most of them are either failed lawyers or doctors, or in some cases school teachers that didn't like their job, so they went and they decided that they would go run for office and get paid a handsome salary for doing so. Now, I'm not knocking any politician down, folks. I'm just simply saying that it is time for the people to start looking within themselves and decide what type of governance that they want. And if the one that you've been having for all these 50-something years isn't working, it is time for change. You must stop this erosion of your rights. And if you give this government another term, you will end up in the abyss. You will. And not because I'm an anti-BLP. I'm not. I am just simply a concerned citizen. And quite frankly, folks, look around and see the rules, the laws that have been made under an illegal government for the last 4 years, and look the direction we're heading in. You want to give them another 4 or 5 years? That's your choice. That is your choice. You can choose whoever you want. That is what democracy is about. But at the end of the day, blame no one for being inactive. Blame no one. And those of you, let me say to those of you collecting the low 500, I heard that there's money kicking around in St. John like water right now. You imagine that if you calculate what that does for you for the next 5 years, you'll be ashamed of yourselves, not even a penny a day. Now imagine this, folks. Let us stop selling our sovereignty. Let's stop selling our dignity. Let us stand up. Okay, so Kemar Stewart may not be an attorney. He may not be a doctor or any of that. But you know what? Kemar Stewart has put in his time. He's been out there grinding. I know Kemar Stewart, and I've seen his activities. There are others out there, the young lady, as you said, in St. Philip and Lynette, and all of them have been out there doing their part. Lynette's been running for office for almost 30 years, as far as I know. And all I'm saying, the Alex Mitchells, the Roy Turneys, VP Turney of the Sovereignty Party, Teresa Coward, there are people out there. Teresa has a soup kitchen in her constituency that she serves food to her constituents, and she's not a politician. She was doing this long before she decided to get it. You know why she's running with us now? Because the people keep telling her, hey, you're doing a good job. You need to go and represent us. And that's, look at her interview on the I believe it's Barbados Today that was done yesterday. It is so beautiful. I am proud of this young lady. And she's running against the prime minister. Folks, give her your support. We come in the next few days. By the way, I'm back in court on the 4th of February. This is also what they didn't tell you. We have another hearing on the 4th of February on this matter, the very same matter. Okay, so they're trying to ram an election through before all of the matters are heard, so that they can say this is an academic exercise. Guy Smiley said, I will keep repeating those words till I die, because I can't believe that a man who has made his whole career in politics and lived off the people does not have sufficient fortitude to stand up and do the right thing for the people. Emmanuel, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome, Phil. Thanks for coming on as well. You put in too much faith in him, and he was never there for that purpose ever, and he knows it. He's just an ornament on the hand of the ventriloquist. Having said that, Phil, again, thanks. We're going to have to do some more stuff and get you and some other folks on to share a little more light on what's going on in your continental experience over there in the motherland and what you've been up to. So thanks again.
Let me say this. I would love dearly, we're in court on Wednesday again, and that should hopefully put a lot of this to bed finally. And I would like, Lalu we'd ask him to come tonight, but he had a previous engagement by the time you and I decided that I would come on, which was only 48 hours ago. The point is this. after that decision, hopefully there's a decision on Wednesday, and hopefully Lalu can come and tell us, all of that and more, and put some closure to all of this. But we have an election to contest. I'm not there. I'm not running in the election, but I do have candidates there, and they're there as concerned citizens, folks. They will carry your message to Parliament if you give them the chance, and I will be there beating the drums with them. My job right now on the continent is far more critical in the sense that we're trying to build those bridges. I will come back and speak to that issue further on your program, Emmanuel. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Phil. Much appreciated. I want to also say that at this point, what we're going to do is a quick wrap up. And I got like 3 videos, I think. Yeah, not 3, but 3. 3 videos to show. And then we up out of here. It's almost 2 hours. We ain't doing any long program like before. Like, nah, folks got to get that nightly dose and rest. But let me say this in the early. Someone said it earlier here. I want back to that comment. Where is it? By the way, thanks, Lee, for the article. Give thanks to the inbox crew. I'll check the WhatsApp in a bit, and I'll go ahead and read that. Someone said it here. Oh, yeah, by the way, a question. There's some questions in the comments. When you get a chance, Phil, you got to go and type in and some answers. There's several questions there for you. I noticed that. I like the fact when she said a leopard never changes spots. There was another one that talked about, wait a minute, let me see. I should have made Lynette Eastman. Now go further down. Todd, right, a little further down. Not me about crimes, not that one, but there's shout to Carolyn, by the way. Also, I saw Carolyn recently, and she was doing her work as well, spiritual worker. Barbados have a lot of people looking to represent them on a major, in a very major way. Sincere people who give of themselves, who've been giving of themselves, whether people are aware of this or not. Those who would have benefited from their presence and their pre-essence would know this. So we definitely appreciate that. But there was a comment I wanted to speak on. Jane is an important person to speak on for sure. Shout out to Jane Goddard, by the way, and the whole family. Well, that side of the family, yeah, because you know how family get when it comes to land in Barbados. It is crazy, and there's some attorneys who are willing to facilitate that. I guess that's doing their job, right? Oh yeah, thank you, Jane. When a snake sheds its skin, it is still the same snake. I know that was in reference to that particular video, that last video I played, Jane, you real slick with it. But I want to play another one real quick. Like, I almost couldn't believe this, I mean, I understand. And this is why we cannot, I mean, it might seem comical. And what's election or silly season without a laugh? So, I got to play this. I'm just sorry, man, but I got to play this, man. So let me just go ahead and close out my messages on the side here. My inbox crew can't let anybody see these faces, because they must remain anonymous. But let me go ahead and put this one on here. Hang on, let me add this. Phil, don't go nowhere. You got to see this one. Like, I can't believe this, like, for real. Let me just put this up here. Now, like I said, there's some people who've been sitting in jobs and positions in Barbados way too long, and they just need to go. Like, just go. Like, just step down and let somebody else run. Keely Holder, the young lady who was in agriculture for a brief moment, she was appointed there a few years ago. She was putting in some work, then suddenly she was gone and somebody else was in that spot. But I know her. I know she's been doing work. I know she has a love and a passion for agriculture and for farming in Barbados and across the region. I know she's doing work. But you see the gentleman right here, James Paul, and I call him names. And I hope somebody tell him I'm calling his name. Like, like it should reach a point where you tell yourself, look, I just go and step aside, because like when I ask people to show, I'm a farmer. Well, when I have time, because farming is a lifestyle, it's a dedication all day, every day. So I don't get to spend as much time in farming as I would love to. And I love farming. So I don't like that. But imagine you in a position of power where you can make things happen for farmers. And I suppose some people do benefit in some ways. But then it's like ideas and vision is like, where this going, man? Like, why don't you just let somebody else run the program and see what the worst that could happen? It don't work. Well, then you could go back in the Sony position. I mean, but give somebody else a chance. But I had to play this video for one reason only, man. And this is the DLP or BLP candidate on a DLP platform promoting BLP/DLP. I should put it that way. And ideally, we got to realize that when it comes to politics or politics or whatever you want to call it, this particular time, it does something to the people. I know they get too excited, overly excited, because every time I turn on, I hear a meeting, there's this screaming, this loud yelling, and it's not like it's rage or anger. It just seems comical.
Ladies and gentlemen, on February.
So I'm gonna let that go. I think I'm gonna let that go. And because
11th.
wait, hold on. You know why? Because put it in top. Because it's like, man, should I let this thing go? I let this thing go. For those who know, who don't know, man. But James Paul.
Ladies and gentlemen, on February 11th, vote Barbados Labour Party.
No, I'd be wrong of me to do that. But he didn't actually say that. He just slipped up.
Sorry, vote Democratic Labour Party.
Yeah, I understand. So listen, man, I think we need to look at this whole running country thing a lot different, because the election thing and the votes and campaign, and that ain't working. Let's just break it down into communities, constituencies, within the constituencies, and have people independently govern themselves accordingly. And from there, then, it's about the work, so that each constituency, what we call a constituency, or which each province is run like a country. So you have the same ministries you would have as an island, you have those ministries in the province or the constituency, for those who like the term. So what would happen basically is that you would, hold on, let me change. You would have your representative, which would function as the prime minister for the province. And you would then have education, agriculture, roads, health, at least that, housing, those ones. And those individuals would be tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that everyone that constituency house needs are met, the roads are dealt with, this education is pristine, and everything is up to par. And the health, same thing. So then, and I gotta include agriculture. Speaking, we can't live with agriculture. So that constituency providence is literally ran as its own sovereign space. Then you go to the next one, and so on and so on and so forth. And so by delegating this in this fashion, you get more efficiency from the people in the small, it's like a classroom with children, being the prime minister. And you got 40 students in your class, and you're one teacher. And half the class in as sharp as the other half, and the third is like really needs special needs. And it's like you're only one individual. So you really, as much as you even have a desire to do it, you can't physically, it can't be done. It can't be done. So my thing at this point is that let's see how we could, because although we're doing this Westminster, all this other stuff we adopted from a colonial standpoint that they keep claiming that we want to get rid of. I mean, Smartley is known for that. But you gotta let it go though. Let's try something different. Phil talked about Burkina Faso, the brother Ibrahim Traore, if I pronounce it correctly. And most folks admire this brother and love it. And I don't, and I support the initiatives as well. Doing good for everyone in the country and the continent and so on. But my focus has never been Burkina Faso, but the Caribbean and the Barbados. Why? Because this part I live. So, I mean, some folks will get up and go, and I support that 1,000%. But who is going to be the Ibrahim Traore for the Caribbean, for Barbados? Who's going to get up and say enough is enough, and let's put this thing that was wrong right? Because we cannot continue to follow the model and not recognize it has never worked. I said it before in this program. I am no friend of democracy, just to use the term loosely, but in reality, democracy has never worked for people of African descent from the inception until now. And the illusion of inclusion is what keeps us holding on faithfully to the idea. All I'm saying is that maybe we can retweak what we have to tailor it to the needs of the people who need it most. We can't talk about trickle-down economics, not recognizing that the champagne bottle don't have enough to get to the bottom glass. So folks at the bottom waiting, but the folks at the top, they just sipping all along. So once they keep sipping, the wine champagne keep pouring, they gonna just get drunk off the wine of the fornication. We know where that's gonna go. So we need a mechanism in place that strengthens the bottom base first, not the top. The top has to carry little or no weight whatsoever. It is the sustainable base of the house, the foundation on solid rock, like Christ, that we got to stand. We can't be building a house on dry sand, because dry sand, once the water come, the water going to wash it all away. And we know this. And quite frankly, in 2026, family, look around you, the world is changing. Water is coming. In fact, I dare say it might be here already. These flash floods and all kind of crazy stuff, weather and stuff. It's crazy, man. So all I'm saying, people, let us find ways to strengthen the individuals who decide they want to run for the what they call politics position. Well, I don't like the word, but representative for the constituency or the Providence. Shout out to Barbados National Congress again, because this is a whole different program. Providence, that's the word we're using deliberately, because words have power. We carry a language, we carry an energy. So the idea is to empower each Providence accordingly, including their own food supply. So nobody can penalize it for what? Because they growing their own food. They literally growing their own food. The only thing they got that they need is what they get from the supermarket. Other than that, you can't steal yams in St. John and bring them in St. Philip. St. Philip got yams growing too. Who you getting them to? You can't sell them to nobody. Nobody ain't buying them because we got your own yam here. Why would I buy yam? I got my own yam. Got my own herbs and stuff, my sweet potato, my squash, my watermelons, and whatever fruit trees. Same my day. So then we address a lot of these issues in a different way. But anyhow, let me play the other video and roll out, because like I said, it's been a while and me won't stay here too long. There was that one, then there's this one. And let me say this, by the way, it is not that I don't do politics or elections or vote and this kind of stuff. My thing is that there are people who have passion, and you can't fake passion. I see people with passion. I've seen it for the years, over a decade now, in this, I've been back here anyway, people pushing and trying to advocate for themselves, their families, their people, their constituency. Again, shout out to Alex Mitchell, his family legacy, stolen land. I mean, land beyond belief. And I've heard people talk about it. Everybody knows about it. But from a justice standpoint, it's like, man, old pirates, yes, they rob I. So that's where we find ourselves, people. Question is, what's next? Where do we turn next? Where do we go next? Do we continue to, how should I say, hope that things change, or do we implement change ourselves? Before I play this video, let me check some comments real quick and give some strength to where it lies. Lee said, the article is found on page 63, 251. Judge rules against ex-candidate. The ex-candidate defeated the candidate in the 2022 general election. Well, okay, so this is in the newspaper that Lee was telling me about, the article. So he said he sent it to my inbox. I'll check it and I'll probably post it on the page or something along those lines and see. Get to the Pedro, nobody wants to get to the bottom of that. Okay, that's the person back and forth. Elections seem to be the only time you can get money without begging from the politician. That is crazy. That is crazy, man. Yeah, wow. Yeah, you ain't got to answer for it. They're willing to give you, huh? No problem. That's a fact, man. In fact, I think that's a big fact, man. I got to give you that one on that. Good night, Tommy. Good night to you too, family. Much thanks to Brother Phil for sure. Amen. You have said a mouthful. Wake up, people. Are you better off? No. Answer yourselves that question. Yeah, it's Barbados and Barbadians better off now. Like I said, I've seen people with passion, man, speaking about what they would love to do. I would just love them to get the opportunity to do it, because then we'll know for sure we could do this on our own. Even though the people love him, they're tired of, they're tired of assassinating Traoré a few weeks ago. Well, again, more. I mean, you put yourself in that position. That come with the territory. That's all part of it. And don't think that they don't be trying to put people here under pressure as well. Where in the world is Fred Corbin, man? This information confirms how dirty they are. It is crazy, but it is crazy, man. Anyhow, thank you, Phil. They're saying thank you. Have a restful night. Greetings from Dominica. Shout out to Dominica in the building as well. One Caribbean. Shout out to the elder, man. It's good to see you on board, as always. That's why I said James Paul is a joke. His words and speak volumes. Batting on both wickets. You know it is in Barbados. Yeah, they're going to get some interference, Sean. You know that. It's that kind of program, man. Yes. You can't grow food and push net zero. Interesting. Shout out to Jackie and NYC. Yes, yes, yes. Phil is saying thank you, thank yous, lots of thank yous. So Catlin should be on here more often. Shout out to the people as well. I may got to change some colors, man, because that's, you never know, boy. No one took me from Africa. We were always here. Well, Alex, we got to get you on as well, Alex. Find the time. Next week, family, we should got some folks coming on. Some people have expressed interest in sharing their thoughts, and I look forward to having the dialogue. Like I said, I mean, that was what it was for in the first place. So stay tuned for that. Let me play this video here now. And I want you all to take this serious. I mean, I don't know, this might be controversial, man. By the way, just for the record, the video that was played, the video that was played, let me pause this first. Hang on, let me pause this. Let me pause this. The video that was played a few days ago with the young lady that speaking, I had a conversation. Shout out to Adrian Green, by the way. Big shout out and big salute. One of the points I want to make was that passion that the youth had. Imagine a youth that's conscious, that's aware, and had that fire from young. Imagine that. We have to literally teach our children the truth, so the truth can make them free. Speaking the truth, let me share this video. So I came across this recently, and I thought to myself, what are the odds of this? What are the odds of this? So this is not me spreading any disinformation or any propaganda. I just thought it was interesting what was said in the video. And it's a clip, so I hope they don't, how it is when you do the whole, when you take somebody clip and play the clip, then the clip don't clip no more, and then it's a slip. Anyhow, let me add this to the screen. No, I'm not promoting guns. That's not what I'm promoting. I just happen to be part of the clip. Let me just go ahead and play this. Skip that. Let me skip that. This is from a James Bond movie. This is from a James. Now, Barbados, listen, hold on. Let me make sure I make this clear here, because I know people are real funny nowadays, boy. And no way am I promoting anything negative here. But I want you to listen very carefully to this dialogue, because I guarantee you, throughout this entire election, I'm almost certain, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that nobody on the platform, other than maybe, let me not say that. I don't think no one's going to speak about this or nothing pertaining to this. I could be wrong, though. If I ain't correct, correct me. But let me play this real quick and let me let you see and do. With the volume at. Make sure the volume on because I want you to hear this thing, man. Make sure it up too. Yeah.
Ah, 007.
Q?
Please excuse the mess. Everything's a little bit up in the air, what with the changes and all. Couple of things to get through. Shall we get started?
Shall we get started? Now, when I saw this, I tell you, I was like a light, it played and it went past, but then a light bulb went off. Listen carefully.
Just relax.
Just relax.
That's it, lovely. Now, you may feel a small... Christ.
You might, clearly he got stuck with a needle. Anyhow.
Prick.
Might feel a prick.
What is it?
His question is, okay, hold on. What is it?
Cutting-edge nanotechnology. Smart blood.
Y'all heard that? It is nanotechnology. Smart blood. Now listen what it does.
Cutting-edge nanotechnology. Smart blood. Microchips in your bloodstream
Microchips in your bloodstream
allows us to track your movements in the field.
allows us to track your movements. Movie. It's a movie.
You see those readouts? We can monitor your vital signs from anywhere on the planet.
Monitor your vital signs from anywhere on the planet.
That's more.
Call it a post-Mexico insurance policy.
Yeah. I just gonna leave that one right there. Yeah. Nothing is the same since that few years ago. Since COVID, nothing ain't the same, man. Nothing ain't been the same, and it ain't gonna be the same. And if we keep thinking that it will be back how it was, and we still in the same kind of world, and we still in the same kind of environment, with same kind of thinking, family, man, reset yourself here, because it's that kind of time. Anyhow, give thanks for tuning in, staying in, telling a friend, tell a friend, make sure you subscribe to the page, click the like button, the bell, all that good stuff. But more importantly, make sure you share it. You ain't gonna like it if you ain't like it, all that. But definitely share it, because this whole algorithm thing is a different program. And I'm telling you something, the calls I get from people I get from places, because the numbers on the screen. And shout out to the L that spoke about the buses. Let me just say this before we close out. The buses, the man tell me, listen to me, Rasta man, what you say with them buses is so true. These new buses only good on these soft roads, because certain parts of the country you carry these buses, you gotta put on earplugs, because they start to rattle and make so much noise that they're gonna fall apart. They're not built for these roads. Some brothers complain that the buses don't even take no more than 2% charge now. Like the batteries ain't working. Like we bought a bunch of old stock, but I ain't want to get into that, because like the same entertainment vaccine deal, who procured the buses? Because the government bought them, but who got the contract to provide them? Is that included in the book, Miss Motley? Is that information in the book? That's just the question. See, you dealing with some intelligent Barbadians, man. You can't, like, that right there is I want a copy. I want to copy the book. Somebody get me a copy of the book, man. Anyhow, man, let me go, family. It's been great. Thanks again for staying, sharing your time, your energy, your synergy, your thoughts. And it's been good to have the brother Phil back up with us. And we thank him as well, for sure. Somebody is, where's the other one? Carol Clark. I see you there. I see you. Not sure pertaining to what exactly. Where we at? Jane, I see you too. Our culture is most important. You know, I definitely feel that, man. I be telling folks that, they be laughing at me. The farmer is king. Let the farmers don't cook, grow food, and you see what happened, man. They would have time to party with these parties. Caribbean first, all day, every day. All day, every day. Stinking sand. It's a fact, man. Wise man built his house on a rock. Well, this rock called Barbados, we need the builders in Barbados to start redefining what we're doing, man, because it's that time, family. It is that time. They're not just sipping, they gulping it down by the mouthful. Nothing tickling, nothing trickling down. You talk the Kool-Aid. I know, man. We gotta love our people though, because the Father don't want everybody for this time. He said, in fact, let the rest go home. Give me the man and the woman with one knee down and one knee up. Meaning those individuals that know what time it is, man. Selfish and they white, and that's why we are where we are in the world, past, present, and future. Maureen, that's some profound statements, man. That is, I mean, the people can vote to live or they can vote to die with the prime ministers. That's part. Yo, Alex, man, shout out to Alex Mitchell, man. All day, every day. $500 is 27 cents per day. Well, I know, boy, that one rough. I don't know. All these parties with lawyers only talking about VAT is set up. Yeah, it's a setup. It's a setup. VAT. Taxes. Which 007 is that one? That is a good question. That is I would get back to you on that. But you can look up Born Scene with nano technology, I suppose. It might come up and you'll see which one it is. But that one had me, man. I was like, whoa. Oh, by the way, that came out the year before COVID. I'm just saying. I don't know, man. It just happened to be, maybe it's a coincidence. Emmanuel, do you know about Stardust? Mr. Hunt, good to see you, man. Long time no see. If I know about Stardust, I think we're all made from Stardust, if that's what you're asking me. Anyhow, we up out of here, man. We thank you as well, Phil. Give thanks, bro. Thanks, Lee. Lee, I see you too. Hold on. Y'all figured it out. I got you. I didn't see which one you posted, Lee, but I'm sure there's somewhere in the comments, the name somewhere now. Daphne, let's have a good night. Daphne, I got a tune for you, man. Anyhow, family, give thanks again for being here. Haile Selassie first, Empress Reserve Menin. One perfect balance. We're going to connect in a couple of days. We got some more guests coming in next week, so we'll be prepared for that. Let me drop this tune, though. I was doing the Job Brooks earlier. And I think we're doing Job Brooks, man. It's a little different. Let me go and share this one. Hang on. We're okay, yeah. There you go. Share screen. Remember, family, these days is some funny nights. Nothing is what it appears to be, man. Stay focused and be vigilant. Like I said, despite all the distractions going on, there was a few bills that were passed just before the whole thing kicked off. Everybody quiet, everybody silent, and things are happening in the background. I'm sure Barbados is still functioning, but we don't know what's happening. Because as always, you on a plantation, man. You just don't think so. The illusion of inclusion. Get the workers to feel that they're part of the thing now, and they'll work even harder to sustain it. When truthfully, in fact, just exploitation. Because Mr. Thorne is talking about tax, and he said he should not shirk or should not not hide from paying taxes. Some ridiculous colonial thing he said. In fact, I should look for that video. In fact, hold on, man. I really should look for that video and play that now. I hate to tell you, I couldn't believe he actually had the audacity to say. That's how you know you can't let him run nothing. He can never be prime minister. You're crazy. Boy, I tell you, boy, we have no, y'all think me and Motley bad? Cheese on bread. And by the way, that's not a campaign for me, but put Ninja Man as prime minister before he put Mr. Thorne. That might sound crazy, but I've actually had conversations with Ninja Man, and that were very intriguing, quite frankly. Very wise man. By the way, what happened to Ninja Man? Well, I ain't here. I see Ninja Man in a minute. Come to think about it. Neither Fred Corbin. I didn't know what's going on in Barbados, man. Check on your people, people. Check on your people, man. I can play that Thorne clip on Monday. I ain't gonna look for it now. We've been on here long enough. I don't think y'all want to see that clip. Y'all didn't want to see that clip. Y'all want to go, right? Right? Y'all want to go, right? Y'all in on this. Y'all in on this, man. I know y'all want to go. But he said you should not, like the central bank governor, should not try to avoid paying taxes. You should not run from paying taxes or hide from paying taxes or think about not paying taxes. It's like, this man for real. I didn't use the word man. I used the N word. Let me go. I'm gone, family. I out of here, man. Cannot believe that. Now I see why he's a King's Counsel. He is definitely a King's Counsel. Except, man, hold on, man. Hold on, man. I going for the video, man. I going for it, man. I going for it, man. I going for it. Those who tired, have a good night. I going to play this. 23 hours. Look how I click it and it come right up. Come right up. You can't make this up, man. Give thanks to the algorithm. Give thanks for it. Give thanks for it, man. I had to. The thing is, if I can find the spot, let me see, man. Hold on. We going for it. We going for it. We can get there. We can get there, man. Let me go ahead and share this one first. Hold on. Y'all ain't gonna like me for this. I know. And the LP family, look, man, this, don't feel no way about this, man. This the guy y'all say y'all want lead in the country. I hope y'all paying attention for real, not just caught up with the same party politics, DLP, BLP, ingrained ideology. Y'all gotta listen to when these people talking and what they're telling you. You got to listen. You have to listen carefully. That's all I'm saying. I am not saying that you shouldn't support your people. I understand you want to be loyal. Then again, some of y'all ain't got no choice. So forgive me. Sorry. But at least admit that you're your head in the lion's mouth, man. And you can't get out, because this is crazy. Let me see here, man. I just gonna skip this guy altogether. But he ain't too bad. He did a good act the other day, when they had it shut out. When they locked that lady who was probably 80-something years old out of the same DLP home. At least he told the guy to open the gate and let her in to go to the bathroom. And I witnessed that. And I thought it was, okay. At least there's some, something there. But Mr. Thorne, let me see.
Was at its greatest.
Hold on.
They were playing together. When this Democratic Labour Party was at its greatest, it was working together. Perhaps an hour in a good lesson to us. We are doing it for them. We have come to articulate a few policies. Ever asked you for debt to GDP ratio? And all these fancy terms, and the borrowing of millions of dollars, or the paying of taxes is an obligation.
There you go. There you go. I mean, I couldn't make it up. I hit the button. Paying of taxes is an obligation. I ain't know where this, paying of taxes is an obligation. Look, this whole section right here, when I listen to this, I had to cut it off. Like, I got to sit down, drink some cappuccino, and study what this man really telling me, because, listen, I could not believe if this is your campaign speech, Mr. Thorne, I don't know who advising you again, but all I can tell you, and I've told you this before on many occasions.
Somebody advising you wrong. They can't be your friends and your allies when they're advising you wrong.
And that's all I'm saying about that tonight. Anyhow, family, give thanks for y'all staying on. Sorry for the last minute addition, but I couldn't believe that. An obligation to pay taxes. It is always the colonial house people that want to come in the field and squeeze water out the rock. How you gonna get from the people? Look, y'all have a wonderful night, man. Let me go, because I can see what can happen here. Let me let Ja Brooks tell you all, man. I gone.
Them a say them are the best story, but when we look around, we no see the glory. Them say them stable the economy, but the wage where them send can't feed we bikini. I wanna mash up our country, and I use politics to try control we. You said Jamaica no have no money, but you no run and fun, you no inquiry. So people say what's on your mind. Don't you know to be poor is a serious crime?
Serious crime, man.
Say what's on your mind.
Your mind, Barbados.
Make the music I bring in.
Your mind, Barbados.
Say what's on your mind. Don't
these politricksters trick you.
Serious crime. Say what's on your mind.
Somebody else is blind, man.
The music
is the worst that could happen, huh?
Me happy cry I water. Not through me hustle, through me bustle, and me couldn't feed me daughter. So me go heal up the master, which is I Selassie, I me shield and me anchor. Why oh why? Why for me people have to suffer and die? Why oh why? Somebody please tell me why. Me fed up on the life. Say what's on your mind. Don't you know to be poor is a serious crime? Say what's on your mind. You exploit with reggae music I bring in for your kind. Say what's on your mind. Don't you know to be poor is a serious crime? Say what's on your mind. Hey, reggae music a free lifeline. Your priority is to tax the poor, and the real issue them ignore. When you plant a seed for sure, them send the copy cops them fi kick down your door. The copy cops them a kick down my door. See the copy.
Priority is to tax the poor, man. Priority is to tax the poor.
Ignore. So me no know where.
Darn you wrong for that, man.
Say what's on your mind.
You have nobody in telling you, man.
To know to be poor is a serious crime. Say what's on your mind.
Taxing the poor.
Exploit the reggae music.
The poor, the break, man.
Say what's on your mind. Don't you know to be poor is a serious crime?
From Columbus to now, you mean they can't get a break?
Reggae music a free lifeline. Them a say them are the best story. Look around, we no see the glory. Say you stable the economy and the wage where you said can't free.
We did pick a knee.
I wanna mash up our country.
Mash up the country, man.
Politics we try control.
Mash up the country, man.
I said Jamaica no have no money, but
to see the West Coast from out to sea, man.
Say what's on
private houses and mansions, man. All on stolen land, man. All on stolen land, man. Sold by attorneys, man. On the different clauses.
Say what's on your mind. Don't you know to be poor is a serious crime?
Say what's on your mind. Imagine in Barbados there's a law that you could sell somebody property to somebody else and they could never get it back. We thought stolen property was possession is 9-10 for the law. You don't found guilty for that. But the body buy it and then no, really. So let me see if I get this straight. If I go carry Miss Motley car, right? That new fancy whatever car she got there, carry that way, and I go and sell it to Ralph Thorne, you know? And Ralph get catch with it. What you feel me? And get here blight up or one he ain't know he buy it from me? Nah, man. Ralph, he in bare trouble. You know he gonna call my name. Emmanuel Political Incorrect is who sells me the car. Why ain't not belong to me? Ralph, that ain't gonna save you. Anyhow, if I wrong, correct me. But anyhow, enough is enough, Barbados, man. Y'all have a peaceful, upful, and joyful night. I gone having way too much fun on here. Night to you too, family. So we have to pay some taxes. We ain't paying the taxes. We pay what taxes were. Black people in Barbados did not pay taxes on the plantation at no point in time. And the country ran very smoothly, quite frankly. In fact, based on the wealth that the people that were being oppressed, disenfranchised, segregated, and marginalized, they built the wealth of Europe, all the wealth, while not paying taxes. Taxes is a scam. Taxation without representation is exploitation. And right now in Barbados, people are being taxed with no representation, therefore they're being exploited. It's pure exploitation. So we ain't having that conversation. That's just a fact. And don't tell me how one was a part of the British colony and blah, 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 blah. The wealth that they took from this country and enriched those like Drax Hall Plantation, the others, that wealth they took, black folks was not paying no taxes. Know how they distributed that wealth to the people. The people can finance their own economy and strengthen it accordingly, being industrious, adapting to the time and whatnot. Imagine if we had kept Intel in Barbados. Let me show this is crazy, family. We had Intel in Barbados, right where they got Sheraton. I grew up, well, I'm telling my age now, I suppose. I remember having Intel where Sheraton Mall is right now. Like I started a whole new program, right? Where Sheraton Mall is, there used to be a company called Intel. Those in the technology world, y'all know what Intel is, right? The little microchip. Used to make them here in BIM. Imagine if Barbados had kept that investment, that investor, that company here. Where we would be today as a island in the region that deal with technology. Y'all can imagine where we be the Silicon Valley of the Caribbean. I'm telling you, we know poverty in Barbados. Dubai won't got a thing on us. Technology, you hear the billions of dollars that folks make in technology, Barbados would have been the Silicon Valley of the Caribbean, the place where everybody want to go. There'd be no poverty nowhere in Barbados. Every demographics may have changed significantly, for sure. But Barbadians, people, education, the level of education, the quality of education we've been giving our children for the last 4 decades wouldn't be like the way it is now. We would be 4 decades. Come on, family. It would be a very different place. But no, it's to remain a plantation. I out, man. Why say something that folks gonna be vexed at? And Philip, I ain't gonna call your name. I ain't give a pass tonight. Anyhow, family, I out. Said enough for one night. It been past half an hour. I should have been gone since 2 hours ago. Well, half an hour ago. Anyhow, we out, family. Y'all have a blessed night. Peace, love, light, all day, every day. Rastafari, live, reign, and rule. And like I said, family, just stay focused and listen when they're telling you what they're telling you when they're telling you it. Because what they're telling you is telling you what time it is. That's what I'm saying. We conditioned to accept the mediocrity, and they know it. It's a program. So they know you ain't gonna, or you want a t-shirt and a couple dollars and a rum. Nah. We want them to go. Otherwise, you know, love y'all, man. In fact, let me play this tune before I go. For those who love the tune, man. And we out on this note right here. We out on this note, man.
Barbados, sweet paradise.
Listen to the lyrics, family.
Tricksters, full of lies. They want mash up the culture, tear it to the ground. But the people we stand strong, we hold the rock down. Wake up my people. Shake up, wake up my people. Shake up, wake up my people. Shake up, wake up. Wake up, shake up, wake up my people. Shake up. Selector.